and just know Mama's working some things out. Welcome back again today, Jam Fam. Don't mind me, just here with dozens and dozens of eggs per our usual. You know, we have had a bunch of good projects going lately, and just yesterday afternoon, I wrapped up doing my favorite number, mega massive amount of homemade sourdough from scratch. We did homemade sourdough discard bagels. We also did sourdough English muffins, and we did sourdough biscuits. And per my Jam Fam friends' recommendations, I cut the biscuits in squares this time. So for this afternoon's massive breakfast freezer meals extravaganza, all of that, it's a mouthful, but we also like to do the biggest freezer cooking on the internet around here, and we've done that for over a decade. So we will be doing over 120 high-protein breakfast sandwiches for the freezer. And I have a list of additional healthy breakfast recipes that we're going to work through as well. So let's get cooking on this afternoon's massive breakfast freezer meals. So to start, we are going to make full-size sheet pan eggs because my big oven's working again, my big Z-line oven, so we like to celebrate. When you do sheet pan eggs at home, you can do them on a quarter-size sheet pan, on a half-size sheet pan. But since we have the big oven working and we have full-size sheet pans, we'll just make that a real good time. And hold on here while Mama helps with some of these bowls. Okay, these need to go over here. Actually, in our workflow, and you know we love a good workflow around here, we need to get the sausage cooking. I have several items from the freezer that we had stocked up on that needed to defrost with the cold water defrost method. That's just some salami that one of my elementary boys wanted to defrost, so that's great. We have 6 pounds of mild sausage. I bought this marked down at Sharp Shopper. And then let's see what our bacon adventures are. We have 5 pounds of bacon and then 2 12-ounce packs. I'm gonna just drain this for a minute. What we need to happen right now in our workflow is we need to get the sausage cooking in a cast iron pan on the stove. And then if I'm doing bacon, which I have bacon, so guess what? Looks like I'm doing bacon. I'm just pulling some ice off of it real quick. We need to get the bacon going on the sheet pan in the oven because these meats can be cooking while we start to mix up several dozen eggs. So I always try to think through what can be cooking while we work through other steps. And also in all of my big batch freezer meal guides, I've created 2 dozen of those. Those have fully thought out freezer cooking plans where they plan the freezer meal prep day. That's a timer for something I'm having a kid do. One moment. It'll just sing to us because now my hand is in the sausage. I'm going to go turn it off with my elbow. Okay, so big batch freezer meal guides. Yes, those are all available at largefamilytable.com/vault. They have all the freezer cooking recipes. They also have the big batch freezer meal prep day if you wanted to do your prep the day before. I like working like that often. And then have your freezer meal assembly day. They are big batch freezer meal recipes, which means you can end up with 20 to 40 recipes to help you fill your freezer. Most of the guides also come with a smallish batch recipe edition if you want to be sensible and end up with 10 to 12 meals. And so we are going to use, I'll link the recipe for you down in the description below. I have a couple different variations of the Denver omelet, doing it as sheet pan omelet and also doing it a large batch in the skillet. So I'm going to do some variations with these breakfast sandwiches. we're going to do big batch Denver omelet on the sheet pan. And I'm also going to do a big batch meat lovers omelet on the sheet pan as well. Also today, when one of my guys was unloading the dishwasher, the crock that we've had here forever broke. It finally happened. So I took an extra mixing bowl, and this is going to hold our spoons right now. That's appropriate. And so I figure if we could get this meat cooked, get the full-size sheet pan omelets made, then what we're going to do is we're going to cut the sheet pan omelets in squares and add those onto our variety of breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. I have sausage patties from the freezer. When I do my big freezer cooking, I like to shop my freezer and my pantry first and see what I have on hand. I did put in a small Walmart grocery delivery order, and I was fancy and got sliced cheese. So some of those breakfast freezer meal sandwiches will have cheese slices. Some of them might also end up being like sausage and cheese biscuit sandwiches. And you know, my plans in the beginning, it might look different by the end, but you always play along and are excited with me. And I appreciate you being here with me and being enthusiastic with me too. So I'm out of my homemade running breakfast cookies. And in January, we did a several dozen stash of those. Those are really good when I have longer running days, when I have an endurance event, when I'm going to have a lot of time on my feet. I have been learning about fueling my body with healthy whole food carbs before and after, plus continuing to keep my protein goals and protein level where I have it. And that has worked really well for me. My goals these days are not focused around continued weight loss. I have lost 70 pounds, I lost 60, and then I maintained that weight loss for a year. And then last year, my body over the summer released 10 more pounds. Thank you, body. Now I've maintained that 70-pound weight loss for a year. But I do get in 10,000 to 20,000 steps most days. Okay, I'm going to let this like it for a moment while we move on to the bacon. So I get in a lot of movement. Plus, I do running events and endurance events. Now, you're going to hear when my May podcast episodes come out on my second channel, I have some big, major life changes coming in 2026. Let's see, I'm dancing around here, moving around some cooking supplies. A lot of my sourdough is on my other full-size sheet pans that are in my downstairs refrigerator. So I'm going to save that sheet pan to prep eggs on. We're going to do bacon on the smaller sheet pans, which means we're going to get some more liquid gold because, you know, throwing this around. Bacon grease is my favorite. Also, downstairs in the pantry, I had 2 things of avocado oil spray. I appreciate that avocado oil spray. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Okay, so I will throw some parchment paper down just because that's kind to my teenagers that wash the dishes. I have a whole thing of parchment paper. I thought I had it on my island. Hold on. Okay, I might have to send somebody for that. I am out up here. Speaking of running, went for a quick run down to my basement. Now I usually keep 2 or 3 parchment papers up here, but we ran through them and here we are. So I like to put this down when I do my bacon just because it makes for some easy cleanup. That's good. And also bonus point, so I get these cooking racks. I cook my bacon on it. Now, for many years, I just cooked my bacon on the pan, cooked it directly on parchment paper. But eventually, I got the life upgrade of these racks, and just makes it a really easy process. Okay, we don't have scissors today. Okay, you know, we judge our cooking time by if I have a pair of scissors available. Don't see any out. There's a lot of craft projects going on right now, though. And Mom's kitchen scissors are the best. Okay, that's where it's at. Okay. So, you got me talking about running already, but we will do those running cookies because I pulled the last bag out of the freezer maybe 2 weeks ago, and we will get some more in there. They're breakfast cookies. Anyone can have them. I just do them on purpose because as I go to get my morning movement, it's easy for me to pair that with some protein if I'm going to have a lot of time on my feet or do a morning run. And as I'm going to share in my May podcast, since I've had some major life developments that now have become my 2026, some of my bigger running goals and bigger running events I've had to tweak. I won't be able to hit them all, but I still focus on doing what I can. I can still get in my 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day most days, and I have consistently hit that for years now. I can also, once or twice a day, get in, and I'm going to have a whole podcast episode on this, but get in my 15-minute bathroom workout routine, which is where I do 15 to 20 push-ups, and I do a 1 minute I was working up to a 2-minute plank, so somewhere between a minute and 2 minutes. And then I work with my kettlebell for 5 to 7 minutes. It's a 15-pound kettlebell that I got at the thrift store. So if you are looking to build a home gym or have some weights to work with in your bathroom, I was talking to another mom of 5 or 6 the other day, and she was just asking me, you know, how do you get this time in with kids? And I have a whole podcast episode about that. You know, we chat about that too. Even today, I got several miles in this morning, and my kids are with me and around me, and all those fun adventures. Okay, so I don't have my oven heating up yet. We will get that going. Just going to set these here for a minute. Parchment paper. So I'm focusing on the things I can do. I can walk, and I know I have bacon on my hands, and I will wipe this down when I'm done. This is just real life cooking with Mom here for a minute. And I still have many goals I'll be able to accomplish. I just have to take into account my nervous system and the changes that my real brain and real body have to process and handle in this rebuilding my entire life season and journey I've been on. And I'm going to be happy with the big events I am able to do. I'm going to be happy with the smaller events I'm going to be able to do because it's all good forward movement. And also being positive, I was able to get in 3 winter trail events this winter. We did a 10K and we did 2 25Ks. And actually, the first 25K ended up being like a 28K. A 25K is 15 and a half miles, And that one ended up being a little over 18 miles, the way that they designed the course. And that one is the one that I did and I shared with you all. It was on snow and ice. It was my first time doing an event with micro spikes on my shoes. And we did it. Fantastic. And I felt it in my calves that day, but the next day, calves were fine. That's what calves are for. Good job, calves. So I also plan that we're going to get baked oatmeal in the freezer, and I just finished all of that sourdough bread. I want to take several loaves of sourdough. I've got a couple different recipes for baked oatmeal that's freezer friendly. And we are going to do a mixed berry sourdough French toast bake. Did I say, I said we're doing baked oatmeal. See, you all know. You know what I just said. I don't know. I feel like I said we're going to do a mixed berry baked oatmeal. We are doing baked oatmeal, and then we are doing mixed berry sourdough French toast. Got all that? Okay. I'm glad. I'm glad we're on the same page. And all of the breakfast sandwiches are going to be from the sourdough marathon we just completed, which is great. Reminds me I need to feed my sourdough starter today. And when you want to do your freezer meal breakfast sandwiches, just use the very best bread you have. Hold on, probably need to pay attention to my sausage for a minute. Okay, sausage is doing well. There have been many times over the years in the many massive freezer meal videos I have here on the main channel where I have used bagels that I got at Sharp Shopper that were marked down that I had in the freezer, and also where I have used Great Value bagels. And you can also make homemade bagels from scratch, and you can also mill your own flour, put your wheat berries through a grain mill, and make homemade bagels with that flour. You can also use sourdough and do sourdough bagels. It depends on the season as to what ingredients I'm able to use. I was very thankful this week. I took 2 days and did a bunch of sourdough projects. And we are going to have many delicious breakfast freezer meals with those this afternoon. People ask me about the time and temperature for the bacon. So usually I put it on about 425, and it goes for about 15 to 20 minutes. I do check it halfway, and my oven runs hot. So your mileage may vary. I have had times where I've cooked it lower even in other ovens, and from there, looks like we're going to have 4 of these pans, and I've just had to check in on it. Okay, this is perfect. So this looks like a little over 6 pounds of bacon. And I am using bacon in these sheet pan omelet recipes because I have bacon. If I did not have bacon, I wouldn't necessarily have had to have bought it. But this was a big 5-pound pack of bacon from Sharp Shopper. And then the other 2 bacons were the Black Forest seasoned thick cut. I know a few of you asked me to tell you how that turned out. It's great. I use those in a lot of breakfast freezer meal bakes. Now I say with these big freezer cooking videos, it's cook once, eat for 3 months. And that's because over my oh so many years of doing freezer cooking for my large family, I have seen meals spread over 8 to 12 weeks. Now, we have had seasons where we eat nothing but freezer meals, or mainly freezer meals, for 8 to 12 weeks. And the freezers are cleaned out by the time we get to the end, but it has been some high impact season that required the use of the whole reason why I have the stocked freezer. We needed it, we had it, we used it. Many times in the past, because I am a mom of 9, many times in the past it would be during the late postpartum, like when I was in my 3rd trimester, and then, sorry, that's not postpartum, but 3rd trimester of pregnancy, and then 8 to 12 weeks during my postpartum times. And I will link those videos down for you below if you would like to watch them. And I did a lot of postpartum breakfast freezer meals. And I've also made postpartum freezer meals for other moms. And what's wonderful about having a stocked freezer is even if I can't do a dedicated freezer cooking day, I can pull some meals from my stocked freezer and bless another family. And I've done that for families with medical situations. And sometimes I'm able to take a few hours in the afternoon and make 10 to 12 meals specifically for a family. But since my own life imploded, it has been more that as I'm able, I can take a few portions and share. But it is nice to be able to take a 9x13 breakfast bake and a meatloaf and a slow cooker dinner and maybe a dozen strawberry muffins and drop that off at the door of a family who needs it. Okay, so this sausage is looking happy. I'm gonna take a few moments to wipe some things down from my bacon hands, like my avocado oil bottle. And then we're gonna get to one of our favorite activities around here, which is seeing how many dozen eggs we can crack. Okay, so for added protein, I've done this a lot with scrambled eggs, but I think several years ago, it's the Jam Fam, it's my viewers here who let me know, to add cottage cheese to eggs when you scramble it for extra protein. That is delicious. I'm going to add in 2 to 3 cups per big batch of our eggs. Now for each big batch of eggs, first let me talk about the Denver omelet. And I always want to say skillet because I've made it on the stovetop so much. We're going to use about 40 eggs. I'm also putting in, hey, didn't have to chop it, a pepper and onion blend. We will put in a couple handfuls of shredded cheese. And then this is one of the things I got in my Walmart order for today, the already cubed ham. Also, this cottage cheese, if you're looking for cottage cheese for extra added protein, only has milk, cream, and salt. You have to watch it like so many things. There's so many extra ingredients. So I picked the cottage cheese with a little less. Everything is not 100% perfection, but we do the best we can. And again, since I don't get to have kitchen scissors today, I'm going to use a little knife here to open this. Oh, wait a minute. What prize am I winning? Backup scissors from the Dollar Tree. I now have scissors. That's amazing. Okay, asking you shall receive. Scissors it is. And I was going to do 40 eggs for the Denver omelet. I'm actually going to do 50 because I had my math worked out on the eggs to do 100 breakfast sandwiches for the freezer, but we actually are going to get more than that. If I end up with a few extra omelet egg squares, hey, look, I meal prepped. No problem. We will have that in the fridge ready to go. And we're going to blend up the cottage cheese separate here in a moment. I have just dumped it in my eggs, and I've also blended it separately. You can put it in the blender too. I just like using my little hand mixer when I can. Okay, bigger bowl required. So next I am adding in the cottage cheese. I mentioned that I was going to blend up and add cottage cheese to add even more protein to these sheet pan egg breakfast recipes that we're going to do so many homemade breakfast sandwiches for the freezer. Now, I don't always whip up my cottage cheese, but I decided to do that this time. You can use your blender. I have a Vitamix that, boy, that thing, I think I've been wearing it out for 6 years still. And it's been going strong. And so I use my hand mixer, though, on this day, just to blend it up a little more. I've also done scrambled eggs on the stove and other egg recipes without blending up the cottage cheese before. And so now I know this might look a little funny. I was coming to the end of my shredded cheese, and so all I had was already made cheese slices from Walmart for sandwiches and such. And so I decide I'm just going to throw whole slices of cheese in this mix. I'm still going to mix it up. It's still going to melt, because if I had actual handfuls of shredded cheese, which I normally do, we know that cheese melts within the eggs. So I figured these squares, hey, they're going to get in there. The cheese is going to melt. It's going to all work out fine in the end, right? And so now I am pulling out my bacon from the oven, and I'm going to boss my bacon around a little bit. Going to move my sheet pans onto the top of the stove, and I'm also going to collect my bacon grease gold, and I'm going to have some bacon samples, because bacon samples are my favorite. With all of this recent bacon cooking, wrong word, not baking. Well, I've been baking bacon in several cooking projects here lately. I have collected over 2 full quart jars of bacon grease, and it has been delicious, and I've been enjoying it on my green beans and other cooking adventures. And again, it is just my favorite cooking fat. So I'm laying some parchment paper on my full-size sheet pan. I'm giving it a spray with my avocado oil, and I'm going to pour my sheet pan egg mixture on here. Now, many people ask me about why I do the parchment paper. The parchment paper just helps with my teenager who washes the dishes. When I don't use parchment paper, life is a little more difficult for them, right? And so I'm just using parchment paper to help the dishwashing that goes down in this house work out a little better. Yes, in my dream kitchen originally, I had 2 working Bosch dishwashers. Those I actually got longer than usual. I got, I believe, about 1.5 years out of them. And then I believe it was last summer, I had 2 of the cheapest dishwashers installed from Lowe's. Now, one of those dishwashers has already gone. We are down to the other one. The other one is on its last leg. So there's a lot of hand washing and stuff going on, and I am super extra budgeted during this season of life. Even though Z-Line just majorly blessed me by replacing my full Z-Line stove, that was amazing. But that did not come out of my pocket. That was a thank you, Z-Line, for getting that fixed up for me. But I don't have the budget to replace other kitchen appliances right now, and that is okay. We are making the best of it. I'm shopping what I have on hand. I'm adding other ingredients from the store. I know many of you have been asking me to do my own variation of extreme emergency grocery budget meals, not just for a family of 2 or 4, but actually for larger households of 4 to 10 to 12. And I definitely am going to take you with me soon. And we are going to shop at Walmart because that's a store most Americans have. We are going to have a set grocery budget, and I am going to shop and show you exactly all the items that I would buy with that set budget. And I'm going to come home, and you and I together are going to make all of those extreme emergency grocery budget meals. That is coming up. Let me know also. I was thinking Walmart, and then I also thought potentially Aldi, because not every town has an Aldi, but Aldi is nationwide, and I thought that might be helpful as well. I know so many grocery budgets are stretched right now, and so many families are pinching their pennies in various forms. And so I would definitely like to get those kind of videos filmed for you all. I believe that's a kind of video full-time working mom / single mom of 9 with only 8 of my kids, 2 young adults, and 6 minor children, and my almost 80-year-old mama, and myself. I juggle a lot of dynamics around here, and I'm looking for more videos I could get filmed potentially in one work day. Many of these big freezer cooking projects, you know that I pick away at these over a day or 2. Sometimes they stretch longer. Sometimes I'm filming segments over 3 or 4 days. Sometimes I'm able to do it in 2 dedicated days, and I do have times where I do the whole video start to finish in one day. But because I balance so much on my own, I have many appointments for many people that I juggle, and many things I have to handle. And so I'm a juggling mama. And right now we are juggling these eggs. I'm getting these opened up, and still I can get this 60 count box of eggs. And I'm doing some egg math here. I can get it for under $9 at Walmart. And I know a year ago, maybe it was a year and a half ago now, I was paying over $30 a box, which I still feel like, even at that price, I would still buy eggs because it's a good, easy protein source. I can do a lot of meals with it. Just the other day, I boiled up probably 3 dozen eggs, and they've just been in a bowl in the refrigerator. We had them for breakfast that morning. Oh, that's what I did. Because, I have times where I watch my dairy. If I do dairy, it's very light, but I try to be dairy-free as just for my personal inflammation and health needs as much as possible. And I really wanted something like butter on my eggs. And the rest of my household was enjoying that. And I thought, you know what? Favorite cooking fat. So I got a teaspoon of bacon grease, and I split that over a couple hard-boiled eggs, and it was delightful. It's like it was a hot hard-boiled egg rolled in bacon grease. What's wrong with that? And that was a delicious variation that I could do for myself. So now, yes, we are in the egg cracking business, and I'm doing a good job not getting my eggshells in my massive 30-quart bowl. And when I do, I just scoop them out with an eggshell, which is a trick that many of you wonderful viewers have taught me over the years. And so now we are working on the meat lovers variation, and we are going to add in a bunch of that, several pounds of that delicious bacon. I'm going to chop that up. Right now I'm adding in salt. We're going to add in our cubed ham. We're going to add in many delicious things. I have a new pepper from Costco. Who am I? So I'm just dumping some pepper in there. And in this one, I'm saving a step. It's like, okay, Mama's going to get this done. I'm just dumping the protein cottage cheese in there. Now that Daisy brand had less ingredients than some other brands. I was reading the ingredients at Walmart. I am not a perfected ingredient reader. There's a lot of concessions I make, but there's a lot of things I consider, and I compare ingredients, and I make the best choices I can at that time. Like I was out the other day and I needed something quick, and I got the double cheeseburger from, I almost said Walmart, from McDonald's. I know there's some mystery meat there, but it was $2.50, and I got it with no bun, and it was some protein on the go. And it was just the best with what I had to work with at the time. I love to get the Hardee's double bacon cheeseburger wrapped in lettuce, but it's $9. And so since I'm counting all my pennies because I got a lot of big things coming up, that was my quick, hey, I had the cash money in my wallet and that's what I grabbed on the go. Plus I wasn't near a Hardee's, but that's just how I make food choices based on the best I have to work with at the time. And I thought, you know what? It's protein. It's what I need. It's under $3. It's going to do the job. And it did. So I have dumped in all of the already cubed ham. You can certainly get a discount ham and chop it up yourself. This just saves several steps. And now we're going to add in the ground sausage that we cooked. One of my elementary guys, I mean, everyone loves ground sausage, but one in particular, when I make it, he comes and he requests a plate of it. So I give him a couple scoops and he loves the smell of sausage. He loves when I'm making it. And I have given him I call it his sausage samples. And of course, he's requesting homemade biscuits and homemade gravy. And Mama's going to circle back to that. We're going to get that done. But in this meal prep, we are doing all of these sheet pan egg varieties and so many sandwiches. Also, we are going to do some sourdough French toast bakes for the freezer. We're doing a mixed berry variation, which is delicious. We're doing some other things in this big cooking time as well. And so now I'm pulling those sheet pan eggs out. Everything is very hot, but it is working out. And I appreciate so many of you who have joined my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault. I love hearing from the women from all around the world who have used my big batch freezer meal guides and my slow cooker meal plans and my electric pressure cooker meal plans, so many meal plans, and even the how to meal plan from your pantry book 1 and book 2 are included in the vault. 2 full courses, so very much. And I have over 1,500 5-star reviews from so many families of all family sizes who have deeply appreciated and used and applied all my kitchen systems and my cooking experiences and my freezer cooking knowledge and so much to get ahead on their own meals and feed their own families. And you can click the first link in the description below, head to largefamilytable.com/vault, and you can get the entire vault full of over 100 resources with an over $2,000 value. You can get it at over 90% off. Plus, for a limited time, the sale ends May 11th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. I did May 11th instead of May 10th because I just realized May 10th is Mother's Day. So May 11th, the $50 additional off coupon expires at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So right now, for a limited time, you can continue to use the special coupon code JAMFAM to take an additional $50 off my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault. And I know some of the comments are all the comments are fun. I have a great time reading through these comments with you guys. Many times while I'm on my walks most days, I am approving the comments myself. I am reading them. I'm getting back to you. Sometimes all I can do is approve them and then, mom life, I'm pulled in another direction or what have you. But I like to approve them and answer them as I'm able. And hey, look, it's boat oar stirring time. Now, this is not my original Mega Mama boat oar. One of you sent me a boat oar when I lived in the forest house, and I used that for cooking for so many years. And this is a replacement one I ordered probably 3 years ago on Amazon because I missed that original one that I used for several years so much. So anyway, back to the comments. Oh, yes. And well, before we talk about the comments, I burnt some bacon. I did. But you know what? I have some burnt bacon lovers. Burnt bacon is still delicious. So I burned one pan. That's okay. We will still eat it. And now I'm going to collect my very precious and delicious bacon grease. But the comments, we're getting there, right? We just chat and rattle and chat. Some friends have been joking about, do this action every time Jamerrill says the word vault. I know I'm talking about it a lot. And as I've already shared with you, I am working to accomplish 6 impossible things by July. And I thank you for being here with me. I'm going to share the whole upcoming journey in many videos that I will be sharing later in the summer and through the fall. And just sharing with you all the impossible things I'm trying to accomplish in 2026 as a single mom. I'm almost at my 1,000-day mark in my journey. May 20th, 2026, I would have made it 1,000 days. And today, when I am recording this voiceover, I am on day 979.
and that's pretty amazing. So anyway, the bacon grease continues, and yeah, there I get some more of the bacon pieces in there, but that's okay. It's going to go on my hard-boiled eggs and in my green beans and used as a cooking fat for other projects, no problem. We are out of the lard, and I miss it. So maybe later in the fall, maybe we can process some more pig fat, basically, and home render some more lard. Now, what I'm doing here, this is actually an idea one of you gave me in one of my recent videos the last time we collected bacon grease, just a few weeks ago. Someone said, oh, you could put whatever this thing is you're baking onto the bacon grease that is left from your parchment paper, and I thought, genius. So here we are. This is already Meat Lovers sheet pan eggs, and I am just pouring the mix directly onto these sheet pans that we just used to collect the bacon grease from this so many pounds of bacon. And I am getting those into the oven. Now, my one parchment paper liner where I had the burnt bacon, I scrape more of the burnt bacon off of that, but that's okay. And also, yep, there we go. There's our mix, and it just looks all like meat. So no complaints here. Everybody's going to love it. And of course, the eggs are going to cook up. Also, so many of you love my dresses and ask where I get them. I think I get 97% of everything on Amazon. I do have an LTK shop, and I try to have that link in the description of many of my videos as well. But we just continue to add my favorite dresses as I collect them onto that list so it's available. And I'm doing something there off camera. I'm juggling a kid. I'm juggling something. I'm giving direction. Oh, I think I had one of my guys trying to maybe put a cup in the sink. Anyway, who could know it? Who could know how many things I'm really juggling? I know I've been asked before about how much help I have off camera and help I have in my home. And so generally when I'm having a big cooking day, I will have two of my teenage sons do something like shred up a 12-pound block of cheese. And also off camera, if I've, cooked for 6 or 8 hours or however it goes, I might have them wrap the freezer meals, label them, get them into the freezer for me. Also, I'll send different family members down to get any ingredients I forgot. So I have extra freezers I've collected over the centuries, and refrigerators downstairs. And so I will send them to run for different ingredients as needed. Before I start a big cooking day, I shop what I have on hand. If I need anything extra, I try to put in the smallest Walmart grocery delivery order I can. It's worth it, though, to pay for the tip and sometimes that extra $5 to $10 for the delivery. So the tip is a percentage. But then on my Walmart app, if I need ingredients like within an hour, I believe it's another $10 on top of what I've paid for the groceries, $10 to get it within an hour plus the tip. So I very well could pay $20 to $30 extra, all things extra included, but I don't have to spend an hour of my time juggling kids and life and dynamics and going to Walmart and doing the shopping and getting back home, even though I'm close to a Walmart. So I just consider that needed help. And I'm trying to do a small order, and I try to get everything I have on hand. And so my family members, it'll usually be some kind of workflow, like I get everything set up. They might help bring in extra groceries if we had a delivery. I do all of my cooking, but when I start, let's say I'm going to cook from noon until 6, which that's my cooking time sometimes. And I'll say, okay, set your timer, like at 3, come in and check on me. And I might have 2 to 3 things I need them to run for, or I might have gotten another idea and I need a different kind of pan. And if whatever it is, I just know I'll have some folks come check on me, but I don't actually have like cooking help in my kitchen on the regular.
All right, so full-time YouTuber adventures, If you all just enjoyed that lovely voiceover, that's because I could not get either of my mics that I upgraded to, right? Our new things for 2026. Could not get, I had mic trouble. Both of them. But I kept on working on these sheet pan recipes. And here we are. And I learned another way to reformat my microphones. It all worked out. Had to do it a totally different way this time than last time, but we are moving forward. So behind the scenes, that took about an hour of my life. A little behind schedule, that's okay. We are doing it. I'm also going to go live with my large family table community members here within all of this. I'm doing a live cooking pop-up with them, so that'll be fun. And I am eyeballing these meat lovers squares here. So what we need to do is we'll just start with the bagels. Get the bagels out, get those cut, start assembling sandwiches. And then we will roll right into the English muffins and the biscuits. And at some point I will make a decision which ones just get sausage patties, because there's nothing wrong with a breakfast sandwich with just a sausage patty. And that might be where we put the cheese squares. Okay, this kind of ended up extra meat. 3/4 of them are squares. This one's a little thinner. Let me know if you liked how I reused the bacon grease on these bacon sheet pans to cook this 3-meat lovers omelet in. Pretty good, pretty good. So we'll get that assembly line going. I really want to eat a piece of sausage. I'm going to eat it from up here. This is just kind of like a meat roll-up. We made jerky, yay. Okay, good news. I have more clean towels and washcloths. Always comes in handy. They're not folded, but they are clean. I said, just give your mom some. So that works out. And workflow. I need to slice these. Other pans are in use. I might just fill another bowl. I mean, that's what we have the 30-quart bowls for, right? Multiple kitchen projects. I mean, they won't stay matched. Well, I'll stack them gentle. It'll all work out. I'm gonna get into our slicing flow. It'll be okay. Also, I'm telling you it'll be okay while I'm slicing this precariously. I want to, got 2 friends, just 2-person households I want to share a few of these with also. I'll get a cutting board. I hear you, and we're doing it, yes. Okay. Keeping my eye on the time. I'll probably set this. That's just, I need to get ready for my live reminder. Well, losing my mics for an hour was not on my to-do list. Boy, these are nice and soft. Maybe these will go to friends. We put these in the refrigerator overnight in anticipation that I would be doing this freezer cooking this afternoon. I'm just gonna put those there. Now, some of these got a little dark on the top, okay? So I'm gonna try to slice some of that off. I guess a better workflow could be I could chop these, slice these, and then add the sheet pan eggs and wrap them. But for now, we'll just do each step at a time. This one's a little harder and a little smaller. I think we're getting it though. There's just not much to it like some of these other giant sourdough bagels. So I was sharing with you earlier how I have a lot of big life changes coming up, and you will actually be with me for many of them. I will be sharing that part of the journey coming up later this summer. I'm just in the initial processing and making plans right now, so not trying to be vague, just very much like, hey, new things. I'm taking this time to make my plans and get my head around it. And overall, it is good forward movement for sure. I have just been in limbo for so long without my full autonomy that I had been making plans for 2026 that just looked very much like another year of limbo, making the best of it, not able to make too many choices or changes. And you guys have done a really, really good job being supportive of my efforts and my times over the past 3 years that I couldn't get videos out consistently. I know before my life totally imploded and changed, I was getting out 12 to 15 videos a month for years, except when I was in the hospital with my kidney several times, 2021 through 2022. That was different. And of course, postpartum times and all of that. But now, I hope you can tell, I'm getting out videos consistently again. I've been able to add in my new podcast in 2026. I did that because I thought, well, if I record ahead on it, which I am, let's see, I'm about 2 months ahead on it, and I only come out with 2 episodes a month. It comes out bi-weekly. So if you haven't joined me over on my second channel, it's my first name, Jamerrill, and we are discussing metabolic health and hope and healing and being our greatest asset. That one is a little harder. I'm going to let you wait. A few of these we're going to wait on. And this one feels a little smaller compared to the other ones. So one of the things that I have learned over the past, it's almost 1,000 days. I've been referencing the 1,000 days a lot lately because when I was recording my 2 May episodes where I just share how I'm tweaking and adapting my 2026 to accommodate for the new changes and things that are happening now. And one of the things I realized while recording the May podcast episodes, and you may have seen me use this language out and about, is that I've almost made it 1,000 days. And that it makes me feel tender, but there's just something poetic about that. I mean, in the mess, in the nightmare, to have almost made it 1,000 days. That is empowering to me. There were definitely days I didn't know how I'd make it. And to have made it, August 24th, 2023 through, I believe, May 20th is my 1,000-day mark. And even with the recent changes I've had and new life changes that you will be walking with me through, and I know you've walked with me through moves and babies and kidney hospitalization and starting a farm and family vacations. I mean, we've just walked through all kinds of things. You've also walked with me through just the hardest season of my life, and I really am forever grateful for that. I'm not going to cry while I chop my bagels. And you also know the story because I've shared online I have been online for 15 years now, and I've been on YouTube about almost 12 years. And so many of you could tell the story that I have shared about being an accidental online businesswoman and how I started a hobby blog that then led me to the idea to start a second blog that I grew into a whole full-time business. And then later in 2018, I sold that. And that was just like selling a house. And how within all that, I was playing on YouTube YouTube started as a hobby, and then I just had a vision that I could grow YouTube into a business as well. And I think part of that is that entrepreneur spirit. And I've grown a shop, and I've grown a private membership. I've had my membership community for about almost 6.5 years. Started at January 2020, before the world changed. Hold on, I'm going to pick through the last of these bagels. If I can slice these, they're just pretty thin compared to the other ones. Oh, we're doing it. And you may see how now I have my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault and wonder what in the world I'm doing with that over there. So with all my big life changes, you know, because I have shared my online businesswoman journey with you, and several of you are also in my YouTuber Extraordinaire course. By the way, these are how the biscuits turned out. They were sourdough biscuits. I decided to cut them in squares, and they baked kind of marbly. And I don't know, maybe that's the butter through them. They're delicious. We ate several last night, including myself. Let me try to get this bagel sliced here. But through my online business journey, you know that I have supported my whole household and my large family with all of my online efforts. And I have to do it by the ages of my children. One of my teens, who's 13 and a half now, I was not pregnant with her yet when I started my second blog that became my first big online business endeavor. So I have been supporting my family through my online income for 14 years. And now, me and you and everybody who looks like me are getting ready for some big, big changes. And one of the things that has been concerning to me, I think it's just part of the process, is wondering if I can pull this off. Can I really do these things? And one of the thoughts I've had to really cling to and reconnect with over these last few weeks is, wait a minute. I have made it almost 1,000 days. And every day has built on itself. And every day I've made it through. I've done it 1,000 days. And so that's why I'm just calling this season my 1,000-day celebration. And one of the things I was thinking of a few weeks ago is, okay, I've grown this channel, I've grown my membership, I've built my course, I've built a shop, and I really need to have some sales. I need to have some sales to pull off some big things and to handle some big things in life. And one of the things with my shop sales is, as my number of products has increased through the years, I used to, before my life imploded, I would have a big shop sale and promote it here with you all maybe twice a year. And what has happened over the years is I usually take everything I've made up to that point and put it in a big bundle and slash the price, because my cooking guides are $19.97 each. So whenever you add, like, once it grew to 60 or once it grew to 70, it's just a lot of files. And so everything's in a zip file when people order. And then Kim, who has worked with me for years, she's my right arm in all of my business work for so long. She hasn't worked for me for 10 years. I think it's been 8. And she's amazing. This is a precious little biscuit here. Maybe we'll do some kindergartner size breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. But anyway, if someone had ever ordered anything during a sale and they had trouble with the zip file, they just email into customer service. Kim helps them make sure they get their files. That's not a problem. But I was thinking a few weeks ago, I need to have a big sale to help me work my big summer 2026 miracles. And then I just started thinking, my goodness, all the products I have created, it's going to be it could be a massive zip file nightmare. And I don't want to make it hard for those of you who want to buy my biggest bundles in my sale. And I don't want to make a ton of extra work for Kim. I always joke with Kim, I don't want to break her. So I'm so very thankful for her help, and also other people who work with me. Now, this may not go well with this bagel, but I'm going to try. Okay, I think I'm going to chop these burnt tops off, and then these will be part of our sourdough French toast bakes that we're going to do. That is good. I mean, these could still be freezer meal sandwiches too. But anyway, back to my business mama problem solving. I was trying to think creatively how I could have a sale for all of my big batch freezer meal plans and kitchen systems and meal prep and all of these tools I've created, and have it, again, not be zip fire or zip file nightmare situation. So I got this idea. I knew and I know I'm not in a season where I can creatively do great big new things. I'm in a season where I need to do the things I've built, and I need to update and expand the other things I have. Like my YouTuber Extraordinaire course, I've been working on updating and expanding that. I will be offering a big sale on that coming up once I have that finished, and I will also host live coaching with that again for anyone who's interested in growing their own full-time YouTuber business. And so I got this idea to put all of my big batch freezer meal guides, all of my kitchen systems, 2 of my full courses. See, that one might be pushing it. Maybe we can get that chopped. It's over 100 resources, and it's an over $2,000 value. And I thought if I could put all that on an easy platform so we don't have to send out zip files. So anyone who purchases has access to the 100 resources. They can sign in, they can download everything the first day, or come back during different seasons and download as needed. There's complete holiday guides, meal planners. It's a lot. It is massive. And so that's why you're hearing about and you're seeing me promote my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault. I am offering that at a super low price. I also have a coupon code JAMFAM for another $50 off. And that is so it is easy for everyone who would like all of the kitchen resources I've created in one place, so I can help you stock your freezers. And it's also helping me work some 2026 miracles. And as always, what I have learned over my 1,000 days is things may not go my way, but I am safe and I have me. And sometimes that's all you have left to work with. I know many people have asked me about my faith journey because for so many years while we cooked in my kitchen and had days in the life in the farmhouse and all of that, I had Bible verses on my hands and by my kitchen sink and all over. And so I did a whole Q&A video on that. That's actually here on the main channel, and I'll link that down below. It's just very simply, I love Jesus and I have questions. And I think that Jesus is big enough to hold my questions. So I just wanted to tell you, we have some upcoming adventures around here. It's a pretty little English muffin. Now I'm looking for English muffins to share with friends. I'm trying to give them pretty sourdough. Nice, okay. And I'll put some parchment paper around them. And we will just, I don't want to forget them. I'll put them down there. So, had some mom life kid interruptions. It is now technology time around here. So I had to hand out the TV clicker and have some conversations and all of that. But we are getting ready for some new adventures. I have to work some miracles. So I'm going to, now that I know what reality is, reality is a gift. I think my therapist she says reality is a severe mercy, and that's the truth. But I think reality is better than limbo and not knowing. That can be a very hard place, and I have just endured a whole lot of that. So I'm going to do the things I can do and do the things I have built the best I can. I'm going to have 3 sales. So right now you're going to hear me in every video that's not a sponsor share about my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault. And then once I'm done with that, I hope to have YouTuber Extraordinaire updated and expanded and offer several months of live coaching as a bonus. Now, if you're already one of my students in YouTuber Extraordinaire, when I do the new upcoming live coaching, you'll get emails about that, and you'll know, and you'll be able to loop in on that, and that's always fun. I have many YouTuber students growing their channels and their online businesses in various ways, and that is super encouraging. Okay, let's see here. I love it when I do this little mini stuff. We're gonna make the kindergartner his own little special pile. Of course, he can eat a full-size bagel, but these are just cute. And thank you for showing up on my second channel and supporting that endeavor also. I know over here during freezer cooking, we don't always talk about big life updates and things, but you all have been with me for so many years, and definitely, even though I feel like I've been missing a lot for the past 1,000 days, so many of you have been with me and reached out and emailed me to encourage me, and I just really appreciate that. Oh, and then the third thing, after I do my YouTuber Extraordinaire sale, you'll see, I'm going to do some updates and fun expansion ideas for my private membership. And again, all these things take time. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm taking the work I've already done and built. I mean, membership has hundreds of exclusive videos and so many included paid products. It's just massive, and I'm getting ready to go live with them now. I do a lot of live cooking and such. I got another timer set. And some of the people in there have been in it for 6.5 years. And that is awesome. So if you have been wanting to get into big batch freezer cooking yourself, if you've wanted to stock your any size freezer and you would like me to help you with that, you can go to largefamilytable.com/vault to join the Big Batch Freezer Meals and Meal Prep Vault. I added meal prep on there because there's just so much, we cover so much in there. One for now, one for later, freezer meal casseroles, desserts, holidays. Yes, all the timers. And so you can click the first link in the description below and also use code JAMFAM. I just wanted to share that with you because I know I've been sharing about my current sale, and you're going to see me sharing coming up. And if it's not anything you're interested in, I thank you for still watching and for your support. And just know, Mama's working some things out. And I'm shaking my pom-poms, doing all the things I can do to take care of me and my household. And I am not in a situation that other women have not been in and have not worked their way out of. Definitely not the way I thought life would look, but also life looks really good. And I am, grief and loss comes in waves. I know all of this is second channel podcast topics many of you asked me about. But I think all of those layers of healing are to be expected. And I have times where I feel more tender than others. I have times where I feel like a warrior woman. And over the past 1,000 days, I hope that 1,000-day thought encourages you in your own hard situations, because I've had to handle so many things and advocate, and I've just had to do things. I've had to face realities that I didn't know. And I've had to handle things I never thought I would have to handle. And I've done it, and I'm still here. And that's really amazing. And so for you, in your own situations, and if you're just having a day where you're just not really sure how it's going to work out for you, just know your goal right now is this day. I've had so many days like that where it's just so overwhelming. And I think, well, all I can do is this day. I can get my steps in. I can eat my water. Nope, I can drink my water. I can eat my protein. Sometimes you can drink your protein. But anyway, that's why self-care has become so big for me, because there's a lot of things I cannot control. And again, I haven't had my full autonomy, and I haven't been able to make a lot of my own choices. But I could make that day a great day, and I could build on that. And that's what I've been walking out for 1,000 days. So if you are having a really hard day today, really hard season, really hard things coming up, just know we're doing it, right? I'm doing my day by day. I will explain in the May podcast how I'm breaking 2026 down to help me be able to endure, put one foot in front of the other, and also still have a really good year. It can still be a great year. It's just looking different now. But that is also a gift. And happy new day. We are continuing on with our big batch freezer cooking that we were working on yesterday afternoon. You know, I have my elementary school bedtime around here, and by the time I had handled the things I needed to handle on the day that was yesterday, and then hosted my live freezer cooking event with my private membership community, and all the other things that we went through on yesterday's list, by 8 p.m. last night, I was done. So these breakfast sandwiches in progress went in the refrigerator. The sausage patties and cheese went in the freezer. Our already prepped ahead sheet pan eggs, 2 different varieties, in the refrigerator. So now let's continue on assembling these big batch breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. Okay, so we are gonna get back into our cooking rhythm here. I have a bunch of sheet pan breakfast sandwiches that we did last night, reusing, I almost said our foil, reusing our plastic wrap. I just had them covered in the refrigerator, and today is the day they will get wrapped in foil and go into the freezer. Hold on here, I can stretch, I can reach, we can do the things. Here is our Meat Lovers sheet pan eggs that we prepped ahead last night. So hold on here, I am just going to make a full-size sheet pan tower, and then we will go through and wrap these. And then how I do it, hold on, getting all the things I need. That's good. How I do that is wrap them individually in foil or plastic wrap, and then they go into a gallon freezer bag. Can usually get, depending on the size, I mean the bagels might only be about 8, but about 10 to 12 or so in each bag. So we have a variety of things here. Again, we did 2 sheet pan egg recipes last night. I also have individual sausage patties, hey, more protein, and I have cheese slices. So this will just be, here's an English muffin example, and that's so much meat, so much eggs, so much protein for all my people and Mama's endurance training and events. And we have a variety of English muffins and bagels and our sourdough biscuits. And I'm just going to roll through now, getting these put together. And I probably will not even worry about having bags with just bagels, just biscuits, just English muffins. It'll probably be, every bag will be a variety, but we will know it'll be homemade sourdough breakfast freezer meal sandwiches. And my household is definitely into the routine of getting out 1 to 2 gallon bags from the freezer, putting it into the refrigerator, letting them defrost, and then they can be heated through in the oven or the microwave. I got a comment this morning on Facebook. Someone was just chatting about how they would much rather cook fresh every day and not have to microwave all their food. That's cool. You definitely do not have to microwave these meals either. In this situation, 8 to 10 could be put on a sheet pan and they could be heated through in the oven. It is truly whatever works best for you. Actually, one of my good friends who has a beautiful homestead and does everything wonderfully and holistically for her family of 6 and has for many years, she doesn't have a microwave, but she does freezer meals. And so she will take her meals out and let them defrost and put them in the slow cooker. She also will reheat things on the stovetop and in the oven. But as a busy homesteader, having meals ready to go in her house is also very, very good. And this is what the tops of, I had 4 bagels that got a little toasty there on the top. That's what those look like. I feel like our little rectangle sourdough biscuits, it kind of remind me, I just think, you know, little Panera bread sandwich. But they are precious, very delicious. I ate 4 of these biscuits the night that I baked them, so absolutely no complaints there. Woo! I'm working with the meat lovers variation here. With these sandwiches, some I'm adding on an extra sausage patty because I have them, and we will get into adding on an extra slice of cheese. Someone also asked me today on my public Facebook page, which you can find me. It's Jamerrill Stewart Large Family Table. I've had that page for so many years. I think it's got over 600,000 people on there. So we chat a lot about stocking your freezer and freezer cooking and all of these things over there. And someone had asked me, she was watching one of my freezer meal prep videos where we were dealing with eggs, but we hadn't got into making meals with them yet. And here's one of our lovely sourdough bagels. She was asking me if cottage cheese could be added for extra protein instead of cheese. And I was just sharing with her that I recently was doing a bunch of breakfast freezer meal sandwiches using sheet pan eggs. And yes, to those eggs, we added cottage cheese. She was asking me about if they go in the blender. And I was sharing with her that I used my mixer, my hand mixer, but yes, they could go in the blender as well. What's nice with the blender is you can turn it on. Of course, kids were making smoothies with ours this morning too, so there's no blender sitting there, but the blender can be turned on for 2 minutes and you can go around and do other things. Okay, making our giant breakfast platter. Now this one that one's a little dark. It looks pretty dark on camera too. It's not hard though. I think that'll be okay. I think we will make it even better by putting a giant square of Meat Lovers sheet pan eggs on there and a sausage patty, and delicious. Keep on pulling it together from here. Also, I have about 5 boxes of those Reynolds Wrap foil sheets. You all had told me about getting those last fall when I was going through a time of doing a whole bunch of breakfast freezer meals, breakfast burritos for the freezer. Let me get some more sheet pan eggs here. And I have some boxes of the foil sheets I just haven't used because, you know, before I do a big cooking day, I like to go through what I already have on hand. So I have those, and I'm going to probably put some of my people who look like me, give them the task of wrapping all these breakfast sandwiches coming up, and then getting them into the gallon bags while we work on getting some more running cookies in the freezer. Those do not have to be just me to use for fuel for running and endurance. They are breakfast cookies. It's just nice to, you know, have the word breakfast and cookie together. And they're from a breakfast cookie recipe that I have over on largefamilytable.com. And also I have some variations of them in different big batch freezer meal breakfast guides. And I'm looking through the window. I have kids out the window playing with water squirters with friends. That'll be fun. And I told them that tomorrow I'm going to take them for a river party day. And all that means is we have a local spot that has some nice river access, but it's shallow. It's not really deep. And it's very wide though. It's a lot of fun to play at. And since we now have had and I'm watching kids run around. It's those Costco water squirters where we got 6 of them for under $12 the other week. And all 6 are in use. And there's so much fun being had. And I'm seeing pool noodles going around. And tomorrow we are going to take a picnic. And we are going to play down at the river, and that will be a lot of fun. We've also invited some friends to meet us there, and that will be our day. Okay. So that's a good thing to look forward to. Also, one of my elementary guys was asking me this morning. We went and we did our morning walk-in. I probably walked about 2 miles, although I only have 5,200 steps so far. So lower step day so far, but there's time left. And I do have days where I might only get 5,000 to 7,000 steps, but most days I work to get somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 steps just because I feel good. It makes me feel good. And the movement is good for me and it helps me with all kinds of processing. It's just a wonderful steady habit I have in my life, and I've had in my life. That's kids squealing right there. I've had in my life for almost this 1,000 days, and that is great. So this morning, while one of my guys and I were walking, we started listening to The Secret Garden, and we were also discussing if it was going to be my side of the mountain again. Now I also have a delivery person leaving a package on my door. They're taking a picture of it, narrating to you all the things going on outside these windows. It gets busy here. So when we were walking this morning, he was asking me if we could watch through the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World videos. Somehow we got talking about malls, and I know what it was. In The Secret Garden, they talk a lot about the moor, the flowers on the moor, the, running and playing on the moor, the beautiful butterflies on the moor. It's all about the moor. So I was explaining what a moor was, and he said that he thought they were talking about a mall. And so it wasn't making sense with what a modern definition of a mall is. I just thought that was funny. And I was telling him, at least in my area, shopping malls, because we got talking about malls where you shop. Shopping malls are not as cool as they used to be when I was a teenager. And I remember how my mom or my dad would drop me off and I would meet a group of friends and I would have $20 and I would get a $1 baked potato from Wendy's and a free cup of water, and then have like enough money left to maybe get a choker necklace or two from Claire's. But sometimes we'd want to go to the movies and I wouldn't have enough for Claire's and the movies, working on the budget there. But he asked what kind of movies we had back then, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And I said, well, like the first Jurassic Park movie. And he just couldn't believe that. And I said, and he asked what year it was. And I was like, well, that was probably like 1992. 1992? But that's a movie I watch. I just thought that was so funny. So I had to break the news that we had all the great movies in the 80s and the 90s, and they might still be movies that they watch today. And I was not much older than him watching those movies. All those wild things to think about. So that was morning chat and movie history with Mom. Okay. Oh, I got some sheet pan eggs. These have been stacked. Okay, got to go solve a problem. We are doing pretty good on our stacking. So we are going to do the breakfast cookies. We are going to do some baked oatmeal for the freezer. And then we are going to take a few loaves of sourdough and do some sourdough French toast bake. And I've got a frozen triple berry mix I'm going to mix in with that. You can do whatever fruit you have on hand. I have a lot of frozen bananas. I almost said strawberries, but that would also be nice in the future. And my bananas get used often for smoothies. We don't just do smoothies for breakfast around here. They do smoothies at different times throughout the day, and different ones of them. It might be like a posse of 3 get together and they're going to do a pitcher of smoothies. And so there's still a lot of other people who may not be getting smoothies, but they do it, and that's cool. Sometimes they'll do several rounds of smoothies for everybody. They'll also try different smoothie creations. This morning I was asked, what about putting grapes in a smoothie? And I said, well, you can. I mean, you can try that. You can do all kinds of different fruit combinations in your smoothies. But that was voted against, and I think they just did banana smoothies. Bananas and milk and protein powder is what they did today. Just gonna keep making our tower of sandwiches here. So I've got a little back and forth system here, but we are almost to the bottom of the 30-quart bowl. And I am now on to using up the last of the Denver omelet. I think we have sausage for every breakfast sandwich to also have an additional slice of sausage. Also, I had one of my guys come through and see my stack of breakfast sandwiches, and he's like, oh, can I have a burger, please? So he actually ended up with 2 of the smaller biscuits, and he heated that up, and now he's outside having a great time with his Meat Lovers sourdough biscuits with an extra sausage patty. No complaints. So this is how the bagel is looking, and that has the Denver omelet with an extra slice of sausage on there. So I think we're going to end up with 3 of these bags of sausage in the freezer, which is cool. I like to get the big bags of the sausage at Costco. Their sausage has less extra things in it, but this is the sausage I had quickly available. We like their chicken sausage links and then their round sausage patties. And there's one of the sourdough biscuit sandwiches. But like many things in our world and our food and our things coming at us, I just make the best of what we have to work with. And I might actually end up with a few extra Denver omelet squares, and that would be great. I will just put those in a container. Hey, look, I meal prepped, and put them in the fridge for options. We just finished eating through, let's see, we ate through the Philly cheesesteak breakfast bake I had made ahead. I got 3 in the freezer, and I baked one for this week. We also had a meat lovers breakfast bake that we ate through, and we ate through a 9 by 13 of the sausage, spinach, and mushroom bake. Let's see, need to get some more egg squares. And I know another question I received, just because you know I've been working hard, shaking my pom-poms and sharing about my big batch freezer meals and meal prep vault having this big over 90% off sale. And so I've been working on a series, just quick little series I can film every day, 30 days of stocking your freezer. And I've been sharing those short videos on my Facebook page and Instagram and TikTok. And so that draws in new people, and also new people who only watch the shorter videos. I know that those are popular. So one of those new people said, yes, you make all these meals, but you have commercial ovens and a commercial refrigerator. And what I would like to tell them from the depths of the Jam Fam universe, right? And you all know, I've been doing big batch cooking and big batch freezer meals in all size kitchens. You remember my very first freezer cooking video ever, almost 12 years ago. I think this one was about 11 and a half years ago. I do it by the age of the baby I was wearing. And the baby that I was wearing in my first freezer cooking video ever on YouTube, he was 4 to 6 months old, and he's now nearing 12. And we did 30 mostly whole foods from scratch freezer meals at my 6-foot table in my kitchen with no dishwasher and a regular refrigerator. And the only freezers I had the freezer at the bottom of that refrigerator, and I had the freezer in my back bathroom, which was not, it was my first refrigerator from my first house, which I still have here. So that refrigerator is now almost 30 years old. And it was the top freezer on that, and then the little bottom freezer on that kitchen refrigerator. And I got about 30 freezer meals made ahead and into those freezers. Now, most of them, yes, were slow cooker freezer meals, but just saying, I have not always had a commercial oven and a commercial size refrigerator, and I might not always have a commercial oven and a giant refrigerator and even 5 freezers. If all I have is a 4-burner stove with 1 oven, you know that when we did big freezer cooking in this 1963 kitchen, we had a miniature oven. And how did I do all that freezer cooking? I used my pressure cooker, I used my roaster ovens, I used every tool I had possible to prep and get ahead on meals. And I did that in a kitchen smaller than most people's closets. Even when my friend Becky from Acre Homestead and her mom came and visited me, maybe it was fall of 2022, Becky said, standing in my original kitchen, oh my goodness, this is even smaller than it looks like on YouTube. She was shocked at how much I had done in such a small kitchen. So yes, I have a beautiful dream stove, and I may not always have a beautiful dream stove, but no matter what I have to work with, I will always be working to stay ahead on meals and keep my freezer or freezers stocked. And I will always be looking to prep ahead and buy ahead items on sale. And I will always be looking for frugal deals. And I was thinking about it this morning when I was sharing with you all about all the miracles I need to pull off here in the next few months. There's a quote. I didn't have the quote fully right in my head, so I looked it up. But it's from Alice Through the Looking Glass, and she talks about she always likes to pull off again, this is not a direct quote, this is paraphrased, but she always likes to think of 6 impossible things before breakfast. And that's what I feel like this my whole season of life. See, I find the humor. I find the smile. I connect with it all and work to have a good time, because we have to have fun, we have to have a good time. And I'm just trying to pull off 6 impossible things before breakfast. That is what this whole 1,000 days of rebuilding my life freezer celebration is. And somehow I have the bottom to a biscuit and the bottom to an English muffin. And that's going to be someone's breakfast one morning. Hey, it's homemade, it's sourdough, it's going to have a sausage patty. And we did it. Nice for our nice little breakfast sandwich tower. And we have maybe a dozen squares of the sheet pan Denver omelet. We will get those in another container. And I will line up my breakfast sandwiches so we can look at them and celebrate. Alrighty, so group of friends are gone. Got my people going in different directions. Now we're gonna make breakfast cookies for the freezer. Also, as I like to call them, my running cookies. And I'm taking one of my recipes and I'm adapting it based on what I have on hand. This recipe calls for bananas. I also have some carrot cake breakfast cookies. I've got quite a bit of breakfast cookie recipes. What it looks like based on our ingredients that we are coming up with is an apple pie. That sounds good. An apple pie breakfast cookie that will also be good, healthy, carb fueling for mama here as needed, and breakfast cookies for whoever else would like them. But I like to defrost a bag of them in my refrigerator, and then before I go out in the morning to get in a couple miles, whether I am walking or running. Hold on, then we grab a butter knife. I will have 1 or 2 of them. I also pair it with protein though. So I might have 1 of my egg cups or 2 of my egg cups from the freezer and 1 or 2 of these running cookies, and that works out pretty well. Another thing that you can do, I'm not doing it with this big batch just because I don't have that much left, but I like Amy Meyer's Paleo Protein. This is a vanilla bean, but I think I might have 1 scoop left in here. And then I got some of her, this was unflavored, also Paleo Protein. There's other protein powders you can get. Trim Healthy Mama makes many protein powders. There's some great ones out there. This is just 2 scoops of what I have left on hand, but if I had some more, I would probably add 3 or 4 scoops to this batch. I'm just gonna save this. I try to get most of my protein from Protein I Can Chew. I learned that from Coach Mama Fox. You know, I'm a big fan of hers. And I don't rely much on powders, but there are times where maybe I have 100 grams of protein for the day and I'm just not hungry and it's, 5 o'clock, but I need a little something else, and I'll do a scoop of protein powder and some unsweetened almond milk. Or when I talk about fueling myself in the morning, I could do something like 2 of my running cookies, a scoop of protein powder in my almond milk, and 1 egg bite. And those are all things I can drink and eat while I'm doing my morning walk. And then if I'm gonna run after my walk, or if I'm just getting in a longer walk and coming on in the house for adventures after that, my recipe I'm working off of calls for chopped walnuts, optional. I have pecans, so we're gonna add those. It's 2 cups old-fashioned oats, baking soda, cinnamon, I'm reading it right now off my computer screen, nutmeg, salt, ground flax, butter, melted and cooled, but you can also switch it out for coconut oil if you want to keep it dairy-free. I'm just going to use avocado oil because I have that up here. A 1/2 cup of maple syrup. I'm going to use monk fruit. Also, eggs, vanilla, mashed bananas and walnut. And I'm gonna double the recipe that I'm working with, but the replacements I'm gonna do is for the bananas, I'm gonna replace it with applesauce. And for the nutmeg, I'm gonna use apple pie spice. I have that from Azure. So I'm swirling around a few things. I need to go grab a couple eggs real quick. And I'm gonna set my timer. I wanna get this done, baked oatmeal, then our French toast bakes also. So I need to do, I have a couple different gluten-free oatmeals here. Yes, I'm going to take 2 cups. Oh, my blender's not ready. I think we're having trouble with the lid this morning. Hold on, mom life. Okay, now that that's washed, I'm going to get 2 cups of oatmeal going. Just gonna blend these up, and then we'll have 2 cups that are not blended. Do a little bit on the floor too for extra fun. Excuse me, oats. Okay, you can also use your food processor. We were talking about this morning about how our lid has gotten so misshapen over the years. You can probably order a replacement one on my list, right? Okay, Vitamix, you can do it. Okay. It's like whack-a-mole here. Okay, that's as much as I want to push that. Okay, so we have our 2 cups of blended oats. And I need 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And then it'll be 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. And instead of, let's see, a teaspoon of nutmeg, I'm going to do a teaspoon of apple pie spice. Then we have, I know I have it here, teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to do a cup of ground flax. And I need to do 2 cups of our unground oats. Okay, now going to do a cup of avocado oil, and I'm going to reuse my other cup we were using. And we're going to do, the recipe I'm working off of calls for half a cup of maple syrup, and I'm doubling it, so I will do a whole cup of monk fruit. And then we're doing 4 eggs for this adventure. And I have the oven heating up at 375. I also need to put our vanilla in here. Okay, now we can go. Okay, and I'm going to start with 2 cups of applesauce. We're working to replace 4 cups of bananas. That would really be 8 cups of bananas. I'm going to do 3 actually. I'm eyeballing it. Don't want it to get too wet. And look here. And 2. Well, let me stir this together for a moment. And then I'm going to chop up some pecans that we'll add in. This calls for a cup of chopped walnuts if you would like. Okay, so for our next adventure, we are getting baked oatmeal going, and how many 9x13s of baked oatmeal we're doing are going to depend on how many cups of oatmeal I have available. I am eyeballing. I have two 10x15 containers over on my table with red lids, and then I have two deep dish containers. Let me see if I have any other 9x13s available. Okay. I also have two 9x13 glass containers available. Just doing some quick math and configuring. I have 4 loaves of sourdough artisan bread, as I call it, over there looking at me. Hold on here, friends. Mom is setting timers for various things happening. I also took out 2 trays of the cookies, and they're giant. I'm gonna count each one. I used a bigger scoop. I'm gonna count each one as 2 as far as when I use my my food tracking app, which is Carb Manager, by the way. I've just used that for years, but I'm not really managing the carbs. So now that we're all confused, I'm gonna do baked oatmeal. I was telling you about the sourdough bread. I'm looking at the deep dish pans. So what I'm thinking while I'm running through all this is the 2 deep dish pans that I have, they're 9x13, but they look like they're almost 4 inches deep. I might use those for the French toast bake. We have some extra 9x13s. We're not on that recipe yet, but I do have 2 10x15s, and we might put the baked oatmeal in there. What I'm going to try to do is times 4 this recipe. It's for 1 9x13 that's freezer friendly, and of course we're going to work to get 4, but I need 24 cups of oatmeal. So thank you for getting that for me. I just had someone bring up the mixed berries I had for the French toast bake. So let me just loosely eyeball oatmeal, and then I will need 20 eggs. I am the egg queen, so we got that. I think we got it. And I have been wanting to get baked oatmeal in the freezer, but with the sourdough mixed berry French toast bake, I'm going to do probably 2 of those for dinner tonight, breakfast for dinner. Maybe we'll have a few leftovers for breakfast, and then we will get 2 in the freezer. Okay, you can also do that as like an overnight bake. Prep it today, put it in for breakfast tomorrow, but I was planning to have it for dinner tonight. Okay, so we have 8, 12. This is 16. This is trash. I have a bag of Azure gluten-free oats. Whoops. Okay. 20. 24. Good job, baked oatmeal. I think we might end up moving to a Mega Mama bowl. So 1 cup of sugar, 4 cups of monk fruit. Let me run and grab some monk fruit. For extra fun, I only have this bag of monk fruit left. It looks like maybe a cup and a half. I only need a couple tablespoons for each mixed berry French toast bake because that'll have sugar-free syrup on it and such. I don't have 4 cups of monk fruit to put into this baked oatmeal. So to make it an adventure as we do, I'm going to need to label the top of each 9x13 of baked oatmeal needs sweetener. Will that work? I will bake it. It'll be frozen, it'll be defrosted, I will bake it. It will not have sweetener, and it'll be squares. This isn't great. Okay, well, I think everyone's just gonna have regular sugar in their oatmeal. Okay, there's that. We do have that. I do have a bucket. can't always be 100% perfect. And Mama can't always pull that off. So there, everybody will love this baked oatmeal. There's that attempt. Okay, what else do we need? Okay, and I know I need 4 cups of melted butter. Going for the Mega Mama bowl. Gonna dump this in because it's a growing already. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw all my wet ingredients in here too. It's just feeling like that point in the afternoon. Making my stack. Okay, so next. Okay, so we've got 5 tablespoons and a teaspoon of baking powder. Hold on here. Baking powder. This is baking soda. Almost. Okay, and then, okay, so for my salt, I got 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons. It's my microwave with my butter going. And then, don't have allspice in front of me, but I have cinnamon. I'm gonna call that good. And then my vanilla. Look at us still using our past universe homemade vanilla. 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons. Now, going to do our 20 eggs. Okay, butter is on its way, and that was just 3 cups. Or close to that on the mark. I quickly glanced. So I'm doing 4 cups of unsweetened almond milk. This would have been considered even a THME meal. The actual sugar in it kind of takes it away from anything in that universe, but sometimes that happens. So let me just look over my ingredients here. We did our 20 eggs, 4 cups of almond milk. I'm going to do 1 more cup of butter. When they bring the butter up, I will have them melt that for me in the microwave real quick. And I need my big stirring paddle now, don't I? It's probably behind me. I just feel like with this big of a batch, this is the best way to stir this. Plus, since I broke the rules and I didn't mix my wet ingredients and then combine them with the dry, All right, got the other cup of butter in here. Gonna mix this around. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna use my two 10 by 15s. And this will still, I mean, this makes a fantastic breakfast. And some night when I know the next morning is a-coming and I need a breakfast, I will pull this out, obviously, 4 different times over the next 12 weeks, and we will have a delicious baked oatmeal breakfast. And it might even coincide with an ultra marathon, right? So, just gonna rinse my hand here for a minute. I know I have a towel, yes. So we will plop. We will get 2 of these going. I'm thinking, my guesstimate is it'll be 2 10 by 15s and 1 9 by 13. We will see how it all works out. You can also, you could mix, I'm looking at my mixed berries, you can mix frozen fruit with this. Oh, mix a bag of frozen peaches. Delicious, delicious, delicious. And of course, you can still do that on the day you serve this. I could literally take this out. I would defrost it the night before and dump some frozen fruit on it in the morning when I bake it. Lots of options. So after this, and I'm not going to bake these now. Let me also add that. These are just going to go get their lids and go into the freezer. So after this, we are going to chop down our sourdough, and it is going to be as simple as filling 4 pans, 4 9 by 13s, with our homemade chopped up sourdough. And then we're going to do our mixed berry mixture that we're going to pour over top. And plot twist now, I think I will stick 2 in the refrigerator and I will serve them for breakfast. I forgot about how good they are when they're soaked. And we will want that. That was just me being inspired and thinking, oh, we could have breakfast for dinner and a French toast sourdough bake. But I think tonight we will have some of our homemade sourdough breakfast for dinner sandwiches. That will take care of that deliciously. Looks like that is just about perfect. Just fling this from the bowl into this 9 by 13. Okay, last big one. So then that gives us 2 deep dish pans and 1 9 by 13 for our sourdough French toast bake. I do have my backup Dollar Tree pans too, which is good. And these baked oatmeals, I'll just put in the freezer with a lid like this. Another question today that came through was, what about freezer burn? And again, this is a big, busy household of 10. Everything I make, we live, cook once, eat for 3 months with these meals. They definitely spread over 2 to 3 months, which is 8 to 12 weeks, depending on life and dynamics and what we're dealing with. I hear joyful noises in the living room. And I've been taste testing our running cookies. They're delicious. as much as I love also having to have a sample of this delicious sourdough, I'm sitting here slicing it thinking, I don't have to slice this. This is so soft, I can rip it apart with my hands because it's just chunks of bread. Samples first. This has the very good sourdough flavor. The bagels and the English muffins are delicious, and the biscuits I have sampled. But this is even more, a little bit more of the sour, which is great. Okay. It's just me chewing sourdough. That's what this is now. Just making jokes with myself. Okay, but yet here I am still slicing it. I'm going to stop this. Okay, I'll slice this one because it's also satisfying to have the beautiful slices. I will, yeah, these are all, they're all soft. It's perfection. Okay. I think I will eat the heel off of this one. Okay? Okay. Delicious. Give me the heel of this sourdough. Okay.
So, yeah, also cramming my mouth full of sourdough. That's one of my favorite pastimes. And so now I am working on doing these French toast bakes. Now, you can do this as an overnight French toast bake, and of course, this is my sourdough variation of this. You can use French bread, you can use loaf bread in your refrigerator, you can use bread that's stale, or just a cheap loaf of great value bread. Whatever bread you have on hand is the bread that you use. And we just did 12 homemade loaves of sourdough, and it made sense. And plus, it's fun to have fun, right? And so I am breaking up this bread, and we are going to do 3 big pans of sourdough French toast mixed berry bake. You don't have to do the mixed berries, but you can. It's just a little extra fun variety. You could do sliced apples or strawberries or just blueberries, or just do a homemade brown sugar topping. You can use Swerve brown sugar as a brown sugar replacement if you are sugar-free or need to be. And so I'm breaking these up with my hands, and we are going to do an egg mixture that we're going to pour on top, and then we're going to top that with the mixed berries. So these could go in the refrigerator and be baked the next morning. For a little bit, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do one of these for dinner tonight, and then I get off of that idea. But my brain's getting tired at this point in the afternoon, so again, it's all fair. And these could be overnight, or they can be frozen directly. So I end up saving one to put in the refrigerator overnight and bake in the morning. It was a smashing hit. And then the other 2, unbaked, but in the egg mixture, so everything's soaking, go into the freezer. And I will pull them out in the coming weeks and coming months. Now, so many people ask me when I do these big freezer cookups, because I've been doing them for we're probably getting close to 12 years now on YouTube. So many people ask me how long these meals last my family. So when I do big freezer meals, I know that, unless they're homemade pizza, that's a whole other beast I have to learn how to keep on top of. But so many of these meals can last us over 4 weeks up to 12 weeks. I might have 1 or 2 variation of meals in my freezer 6 months later, but that's rare. For the most part, everything I make goes in a 12-week cycle. Now, in this video, we've been doing breakfast sandwiches, and we're doing French toast bakes and other goodies. I'm also doing my running cookies to get in the freezer for my good fuel for all of my heavy movement. But in other breakfast freezer cooking adventures we have coming up, we'll have other breakfast we get in the freezer. So we don't just eat breakfast sandwiches for a month and we're done. It's spread out as options, and that is what works for me and my household. And I go down and shop my freezers, and I pick from what's in my freezers the work I've already done to plan what I'm going to feed my family for the coming days or even for a full week. So I'll go down with a basket, sometimes with a laundry basket, and I put 3 to 4 days of freezer meals in that basket, and I bring it up and put it in my refrigerator and then bake and reheat or dump into the slow cooker or whatever cooking method we're doing from there. If it's a slow cooker freezer meal, I might dump it in then the following morning. Also getting another slow cooker going of rice. I like to do that a lot. If I have a breakfast bake in my stash, I know one of my mornings, I don't even have to think about what's for breakfast. I just pull it out, get it in the oven, breakfast is done. We always have a wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables around here that pair with so many of our meals. And just yesterday, I went down to my freezer and I got one of the 10 by 15 meatloaves that we did in January. Also, I got another bag. I got 2 dozen muffins that we made, I believe, in December. But we're almost out of muffins now. So that's December muffins, and we're actually finishing those up here in April. So that's freezer meals I did actually over 16 weeks that we're just finishing up now. And some things go like that. We ate a lot of muffins early on, and then every week I've pulled a bag or 2 of muffins, and those have been continually used up. And I also believe that was my last meatloaf. So that's a January meatloaf I did that we are now getting used up in April. Or wait a minute, maybe I did the meatloaves in February. Anyway, you see how it goes. I have a stocked freezer and I pull from it what we need depending on what is going on in life. And I pick and choose and meal plan from there. Plus I use different items I get on sale or severely, heavily marked down, like at Sharp Shopper has had the organic riced broccoli for weeks now. So I have that as some options, and several of us use that to pair with individual meals. And now I am just in full ripping them apart sourdough loaf mode. So I'm ripping these down. Now I will eat this as well. I'll eat it around my movement if I'm going to have a day that I'm doing several miles on my feet or I have a big event. Also, what I've learned about eating in accordance to my hormones from Dr. Mindy Peltz. Different days during the month, my body needs more healthy whole food carbs. I really like the information I've learned from so many experts, but I hold on to that also from Dr. Mindy. And I will have this with sugar-free syrup and also some protein. So when I have healthy whole food carbs, I always first make sure I know I have my protein paired with it. So I might have some sausage patties or some hard-boiled eggs. And since the main part of breakfast is done on the day when I have this French toast baked personally, I might also do a pan of scrambled eggs. And so everyone gets their French toast bake and they get a scoop of scrambled eggs, and that's delicious together. And hey, if we've gotten a deal on a flat of strawberries at the John Henry General Store, we might have fresh strawberries too. And now we are back to cracking eggs, and I am working now on the big batch egg topping that I'm going to divide between my 3 pans. And we are going to get that mixed up. And I love to use sugar-free almond milk as a dairy-free alternative in as many things as I can. And I am using monk fruit. So you can use traditional sugar, you can use brown sugar. I'm using a couple spoonfuls of a sugar-free sweetener, which monk fruit's what I have. Sometimes it's stevia. Also added in some of our homemade vanilla. We're still going through that vanilla I made in Big Batch 2023. Made it in a totally different universe. Who knew it would be with me in a new universe? Also added in our cinnamon, and now I'm just going to use this hand mixer that's been pretty good to me here. And we are going to mix it all up, and then we are going to pour it over the tops of our bakes. As I shared, you can do a brown sugar crumble to go on top of the bakes with a couple pats of butter as well. That's delicious. I've done it both ways, and so it can accommodate a lot of people and a lot of different eating styles. You just make the tweaks where you need to. And so now I am eyeballing, pouring my mixture over these 3 bakes, but it did end up being about 1 of those round loaves of sourdough per bake, and was much better when I just decided to rip up the sourdough with my hands. And now I'm just making sure all the bread is covered And there we go. Delicious. I forgot to turn my camera on. I thought my camera was on while I was doing the fruit topping, but surprise, you got to see it at the end. So that was a mixed berry blend bag of frozen fruit from Walmart. And it honestly, because I thought I was getting to this the day before, it was in my refrigerator overnight instead of frozen. Just fine, no problem. I eyeballed the bag and divided it over 3 of the French toast bakes. And again, on baking day, you can add some additional pats of butter. That's the directions in my Big Batch Freezer Meals Guide, which also I know several of you have bought that guide individually. And then some of you have loved the guide so much, you've ended up going and joining the whole Big Batch Freezer Meals and Meal Prep Vault that has all 24 guides plus so much more. So we did so many meals in this Big Batch Freezer Meal Breakfast video. I love doing these big cooking times, and I definitely have days where I cook the day away, and then I might have a whole week or more where I don't cook at all. As I shared with you, when my whole life radically imploded in late summer 2023, it was my freezer that held us for over 12 weeks. During that life implosion where I had to just focus on putting one foot in front of the other and making it through in a whole new universe, all of the freezer cooking I had done earlier in the summer of 2023 is what fed us through fall 2023. We had homemade sourdough, we had egg roll in the bowl, we had homemade biscuits, we had homemade gravy, we had slow cooker freezer meals, we had meatloaf minis, we had corn dog muffins. We had a wide variety of meals stocked in my freezer, so my large household of 10 still ate while I was navigating a heavy life crisis. And you don't have to have a radical crisis like I had to benefit from a stocked freezer. Whether you're preparing for a postpartum season, whether you would like to try to get ahead on meals and see if this system works for you. If you have enough life experience to know, no matter what your plans are, life is still lifing, life is still coming for you, and having a week of dinners ready to go in your freezer, you don't even have to have those dinners on your actual calendar meal plan. You just know the night's coming, and I'm going to run through those dinners pretty quick. And you love that so much and you want to do more. That's where the Big Batch Freezer Meals and Meal Prep Vault at over 90% off with the limited time coupon code of JAMFAM that is ending soon is linked as the first link in the description below, and you can also watch me as I rebuild my life as a large family mom of 9, navigating running a household of 10 on my own, while also continuing to run my full-time business I've built over a total of over 15 years if we go back to my blogging days too, when I turned that into a full-time income to support my family. So many of you have been with me on this journey, and I have my goal to accomplish 6 impossible things by July and make some massive life moves coming up. And I hope that watching my journey, my struggles and my successes, and you've sat with me through tears and you've been with me through finding joy just in simple things like moving my body, eating my protein, drinking my water, learning how to connect to hope where hope makes no sense. I thank you for being here with me. Thank you for doing all of this Big Batch freezer cooking with me today. I will chat with you in those comments below. Let's accomplish 6 impossible things by July, and I'll see you real soon with another brand new video. Bye-bye.